I want to start in the NBA here, though. Kawhi Leonard tried his best to return to form in playing his first Olympics, but the injury that made him miss 12 of the Clippers' final 14 games was too hard to overcome. And Team USA brought in Celtics guard Derek White, which led to many questioning why he was picked instead of his teammate and most recent Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown. A little shady, folks. Guess who's in the middle of it? Jayson Tatum. Paging you, sir.
No.
Is it tough not having Jaylen here?
Yeah. I mean, it's so many guys that could, take that last spot or whatever. So, yeah, it is.
Jason rocking the summer cut. I see you. Courtney, any issue with Tatum's comments? It's tough to handle.
Look how uncomfortable he looked. He's rubbing his hair. You could tell in that moment he wanted nothing to do with that question. And unfortunately, once again, he finds himself in the middle of a perceived controversy. Why isn't he defending his teammate? How come he didn't say that Jaylen Brown should have been one of the 12 best players on Team USA to replace Kawhi Leonard? I hate that he's stuck between a rock and a hard place every single time the issue or question, anything regarding Jaylen Brown comes up. Because remember, the teammate that Kawhi Leonard was replaced with is Derek White, who was on the Boston Celtics. So if Jayson Tatum goes the route of, man, Jaylen Brown should have been on this team over Derek White, then that's an even bigger issue. But the body language, the way that he kind of deflected off of that question and said, well, there's, plenty of other guys who could have taken that final spot. I know that we all want more from Jayson Tatum in those moments. All we needed to hear him say was, it's unfortunate for JB. That's my guy. That's my teammate. I would have loved to have seen him here, but it's not my decision. It's not the Boston Celtics decision at the end of the day. This is Team USA. It's completely out of his control. But now that soundbite, that clip right there is going viral because it looked like he wanted nothing to do with that question instead of just deferring to say, yeah, I hate it for my teammate who very clearly took to Twitter expressing disappointment here in wanting to compete for his country and go try to win a gold with Team USA.
But, Coach, he's kind of between the rock and a hard place. Amateur therapist in training. That is my official title.
The dude's in a no-win situation. Think about the context. He probably just finished practice. He's walking off the court, finished the shower, trying to get to the bus, trying to get back to the hotel, and he's thrown this question. You know what? And if you look at what he says at the end of the interview, he says, yeah, it is. So, we can analyze it any way we want. There's no right answer. What did you want him to say? All right, you just told me what you wanted him to say, right? In a lot of ways, if you say what you just said, you kind of, in a lot of ways, you're dissing Derek White. So, he's got two teammates. One of them made it. One of them didn't make it. Obviously, Brown is disappointed. So you put a player in a situation where you're asking him a question that he's uncomfortable with because he doesn't know the right answer. I think we're trying to psychoanalyze. Oh, does he have a relationship with Jaylen Brown? Maybe he's jealous that Jaylen Brown got the MVP. There are a lot of things that go on. A lot has to do with time, and you know this. You guys all know this because some of you ask questions, and obviously some of you answer questions, but it's all when you've asked a question. Yeah, you control your controllables. This isn't all about him. This is all about USA basketball, but to look at this and to question at the end of the interview, he said, yes, it is. That's the end of the conversation. He said, yes, it is. So, early in the question, maybe he was a little shocked that they asked that. I have no idea. But, to kind of try to analyze his body language and how he said it, how uncomfortable he was, you're not in that situation. If you're not in that situation, I think unless we've got a doctorate in nonverbal communication, let's leave that alone and just say, the guy was asked a tough question. There's no right answer. Courtney, I agree. What you said would have been perfect. Life's not perfect. It's the way it is.
I would say this. Looking at Jayson Tatum, he's a rock in a hard place because you have Jaylen Brown, who's been your teammate. You got drafted in 2017. Jaylen Brown was drafted in 2016. We're talking about two guys that went through those hardships together with the Boston Celtics. Think about how we talked about the Boston Celtics before they were able to win this NBA championship this past season. Those two guys went through all those tough times together. There were so many people previous to them winning that championship saying that, you might have to split up this duo. We don't know if it can work. Well, those guys were able to make it work. And it's like I said yesterday, Coach, it's unfortunate that Jaylen Brown could not be on the Team USA basketball team for the Olympics. But also, I don't really know what we want from Jayson Tatum in that situation, because Derek White was an integral piece of them winning the NBA championship.
Yeah.
And you don't want to slight a player that you go through training camp with, you train with, you practice hard with.
You can't win. It's like choosing
situation.
between parents. You can't win. I just want to mention.
Harry, let me ask. Yeah. I'm sorry, Harry. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever played a game or finished a practice, walking off from the practice field, or getting out of the shower, trying to get back and get back to the hotel, and someone jumps in and asks you a question? And have you ever misspoke, or maybe didn't have the body language, or maybe said something just off the top of your head that you regretted? But the last three words that Jayson Tatum said was what? He said, "Yeah, it is." And that's when I think he got himself composed, and he realized, he had to be compassionate and have empathy for Jaylen Brown's situation. But have you ever been in that situation?
Of course I have. I mean, I can't sit up here and say that I've done it numerous of times, but there have been times where, you're in the heat of the moment and you may say something, or your body language might not be right. That's human nature, right? We got to stop, pretending that guys are robots. The professional athletes are human beings just like everyone else. They put their pants on just like everyone else. Guys make mistakes. And for Jayson Tatum, I just don't feel like there's a win-win situation. It's unfortunate, though, because I view the Boston Celtics, and we had Steph Curry, say recently that there will not be another dynasty in the NBA. When I look at the Boston Celtics and Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday being sold up, and you have Porzingis, I believe that they could be the next team to create that dynasty. So I just hate that these little things are coming up at these moments after just winning the NBA championship, and then now you got to go defend that championship in 2024, 2025.
And then obviously he hasn't received the marketing opportunities some other players and stars in the league have, and now this is just it seems like another thing for Jaylen Brown.
And when he was snubbed from that All-NBA team back the night that he dropped 40 points on the Indiana Pacers, it was Jayson Tatum who came out to his defense and said, yeah, we all felt that he should have been on one of those teams. You can't tell me that Jayson Tatum didn't know that this question was coming. This was asked yesterday, so a day after the move was made. And very quickly, Kawhi Leonard says, I'm out. I can't do Team USA anymore. They replaced him with Derek White real quick. That was not something that took them a long time. So very clearly he knew behind the scenes that this was happening. You cannot tell me he wasn't prepared for that. The way that you squash any of these narratives of, do they like each other? Do they not like each other? We had Joe Mazzulla before the NBA Finals talking about the fact that their relationship is their relationship and trying to push this aside. The way you make sure that there aren't those same sort of questions is by showing a little bit more empathy for the situation and showing that, yeah, I understand it. My teammate's heartbroken right now. You can tell by the way that he answered the All-NBA team question when he was like, paraphrasing here, he's like, I don't care. We're a couple games away from the NBA Finals, to him saying, Nike, this is what we're doing, and clearly showing disdain for the process of Team USA, of not being on that team. He knows his guys' feelings are hurt right now.
Of course,
so
they put it on social media.
Yeah, but
Coach, Coach, couldn't it just be as simple as saying, I wish all my teammates were here, and leave it at that? Next question, go Bill Belichick. But here's what I want to know. Obviously, champions, we're talking about, they could be a potential brewing dynasty. Do you think this could create dissension in the locker room when we talk about Jaylen Brown not getting the shine that he deserves over and over again?
I think front office of the Boston Celtics is as good as any in the NBA. And I think Brad Stevens is a great communicator, and I think he'll bring everyone together probably before training camp or probably after the Olympics, and he'll sit down and they'll hash it out. No, because, that's the thing. Everyone wants to create this controversy between Tatum and Brown. They can't play together. They got to trade one of those guys. There's always some type of narrative. But you know what? They dispelled all those things, because if you saw how they played and how they trusted each other, neither one of those guys can make plays for each other. They don't trust it. No, they did. They did, to the point where even without Porzingis, they won an NBA championship. So, all the narratives are great for talk radio. All the narratives are great for morning television.
First Take.
But the reality is, First Take, but the reality is, Those guys are the NBA champions. So we can talk all we want to. We're blue in the face. Obviously, they are on the same page enough to the point where they won, not only won an NBA championship, they dominated the NBA this past season. They dominated the NBA from the beginning to the end. And the last thing about the Joe Mazzulla, their relationships, that's right. Courtney, that's what it is. In the locker room, and Harry, you know that. Guys have relationships. So why should Joe Mazzulla talk to the relationship that Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum have? That's not his point. They're on a team. They're working together. You watch them play together. I mean, like, again, Joe Mazzulla, he's in a no-win situation. He says their relationship's a relationship. He's not Dr. Phil either. So, like, who cares what he said? I mean, what he said was the truth. Hey, if your coach in the NFL, Harry, would ask, you know, hey, what's Harry's relationship with player X? What do you think the coach would say? Either, oh, those guys are great, or would it say, hey, those two guys are good teammates. Well, I mean, what are you going to? What is the right answer to that? Let me ask Courtney. If I asked you, hey, what's the relationship between Harry Douglas and Seth Greenberg? What's the right answer?
Well, I do think that we'd have to put this into more context, though, of like, if I was the coach of the team, I know my players, I know my personnel, and the right answer is expressing the good teammate part, which you had mentioned, and being able to, like, kind of shed a little bit of light on that.
I gave it to you,
Coach. Answer is the struggle. That's where I struggle with it here, where he's palming his head saying, yeah, no, I haven't talked to him. Of course, that's going to draw up more controversy. Why didn't you talk to your team?
All you have to say,
you can tell, though, he's exhausted, y'all.
Yeah,
he's
of course.
Listen, the man just won an NBA championship, and he's with the Olympic team. He has to answer these questions about Jaylen Brown and how he's feeling. The man just want to play. He's
on the cover of NBA 2K. There's a lot happening.
He just want to play basketball and enjoy it and have fun. You can tell he doesn't want to answer these questions.
I'm sorry. These questions come with it.
Oh,
he knew that.
I understand that, but at the end of the day, that doesn't mean he's not human. He's not. He's still human, though. He's allowed to make mistakes. I understand it because I play with two phenomenal wide receivers, Roddy White and Julio Jones.
Oh.
And you know
that was quite the offense. Good old days.
I remember I had to be mindful of the way I answered things because, you know, people used to try to, you know, so is it Roddy y'all going to instead of Julio? Is it Julio you're going to instead of Roddy? I was like, well, who gives a damn? As long as they make the play and we win, I don't give a damn who we go to.
And that's a great answer. I would have loved to have heard something akin to that from Jayson Tatum. That's a great answer. You should be a head coach for that answer.
Okay, all right.